Yo, this is Real Talk E. Welcome to the locker room. We talk nothing but basketball. If you want to be part of the locker room, you obviously have to be part of the team. In order for you to be part of the team, you have to subscribe and share the video to not only be part of the team in the locker room, but to also be a part of our daily basketball conversations. Now, we are again in the play-in tournament right now. The last two games were interesting. There were a lot of drama going on. Yesterday's two games were actually not that interesting. However, the games were way better. So to get started, we have the Thunder going up against the Pelicans, and this was a win or go home scenario for both teams. And the winner faces the Timberwolves. The loser, basically, their season is done. And to be honest with you, I did not expect the Pelicans season to be done last night. To start it off, I expected Brandon Ingram to be super aggressive, to at least start off the game. I think at the end of the half, he had like 9 points and then scored 21 in the second half. I remember thinking to myself, like, all right, it's the second half, it's the third quarter. This is where Brandon Ingram turns it up time after time after time again. And this is really when he shows his talent. And BI is super talented on the offensive side, that it's like you literally cannot guard him. He's long, and then he could score from wherever he wants, and he could shoot over most defenders. So it's like it's hard to guard somebody like that. And I expected him to go off for like 40 points. I expected him to actually, obviously he had an impact on the game, but I expected him to have a bigger impact on the game, especially for the fact that CJ McCollum only had 14 points. I expected him to also have about 20. I said this before, if the Pelicans want to win, CJ needs to have around 20 points, and the assists have to be more than like 4 if they want to win. Because if you look at stats only, you'll be surprised, like, how did the Pelicans lose? Trey Murphy had like 21 points. You look at Herbert Jones, he had 20 points, and he's going to play defense too. So you like, how did they manage to lose? Jonas Valanciunas had like 16 and 18. And some of it is the Pelicans not having their guys. Some of it is I guess their defense was just not there, especially in the second half. That third quarter, they gave up 40 points. Like, that's the main reason why they lost this game. You cannot give up 40 points in a quarter, especially the third quarter, where, most teams are won or lost in the third quarter. So if every team knows how important the third quarter is, you cannot be the team that gives up 39, 40 points, 35 points, that only puts up 25. If you're going to give up 40, you have to put up like 37, like how the Kings play. But if you giving up 40 points and you're only putting up 25, you get outscored by 15 in the third quarter. And in the beginning of the game, especially like around halftime, for a while it was tied. We had a couple of lead changes, we had a couple of ties, and then the Pelicans took the lead. And the third quarter, honestly, like I said, not only did they give up 40 points, but they let one guy go off for 17 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went off for 17 points out of his 32 in that third quarter. And 17 points out of the entire team's 40 points in the quarter. That means you allowed 23 points for the entire rest of the team and 17 to one guy only. And from what I've seen from the Pelicans and what I've heard about them also, is that Herbert Jones is supposed to be this really great defender, this Mikal Bridges, Marcus Smart type of defender. He's supposed to be there, get up in somebody's jersey, get up in their face, really just lock them up. And last night, when they needed that the most, it was not there. Jose Alvarado has been injured this whole time. These are games where they need their players. And then, not only that, they allowed Josh Giddey to go off for 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists. I mean, the man almost had a triple-double. And we know he's not the first option on this team. I don't even think he's the second. Lou Dort had 27. That is like 90 points, like 3 players. And if you're allowing 3 players to go off and basically a combined 90 points, you're going to lose that game 9 times out of 10. Because to be honest, who are you guarding at that point? Like, who are you guarding? The 2, 3, and D guys? You guarding them? Because there's no way you're guarding any of the other three. And the Pelicans are not terrible on defense. BI could play individual defense. You go down, like I said, Herbert Jones, he could play great defense individually. They're also really great at playing team defense. And that did not show last night. It just was not there. They allowed 90 points to 3 guys. One of them almost had a triple-double. And Shea had 17 points in the third quarter. Which means that for the rest of the entire game, he only scored 15 points. So if you would have been able to contain Shea in that third quarter, you would have been up. But that's not the case. And especially in a game like this, a win or go home. Okay, and we all know the Pelicans don't have Zion, but they didn't have Zion last year, and they beat the Lakers. I believe they played the Timberwolves, and they beat them. I know they played the Clippers and beat the Clippers. And then they faced the Suns. They gave the Suns trouble. They pushed it to 6. A lot of people thought they were going to beat the Suns and have an upset. And it wasn't like that team was a crazy difference from this team. It's the same team. Without Zion. And to understand that in January, like you go back to the first week of January, this team had a top 4 seed in the West. And then out of nowhere, they just started dropping down. And for a while, they were struggling to make the play-in. They were around 13 seed, 12 seed. They were fighting for their life. And now they make the play-in, they get the 10 seed, and they pretty much choke. They lose to the Thunder. And honestly, I really wanted to see the Pelicans take out the Timberwolves because I feel like they actually have the talent to. I feel like they have a chance to do so. But now that the Thunder are going up against the Timberwolves, I'm actually kind of scared to see how that ends up because I feel like if we got Pelicans versus Nuggets, and obviously if the Pelicans didn't play how they played last night, I feel like it would be a way better matchup and just talent to talent, pound for pound. I feel like it would be way better than, to see Timberwolves versus Nuggets or Thunder versus Nuggets. I just feel like the Nuggets are going to walk all over those two teams. And obviously, there's going to be somebody out there that's going to look at the Pelicans play last night and be like, well, I'm not going to lie, the Nuggets will take them out too in a 4-game series. But to be honest with you, I don't think that would be the case. I feel like the Pelicans would have been able to push it to 6, 7, at the least 5. I don't think they would have got swept. But if we look at the Timberwolves, nobody's guarding Jokic. They're going to treat Rudy Gobert the same way every team has played him in the playoffs. And then he's damn near unplayable in the playoffs. He has to literally sit on the bench. And if they go up against the Thunder are super unexperienced. They're super young. And they're just not big enough to guard the Jokic, a Jamal Murray, a Michael Porter Jr., and the Aaron Gordon. Like the Nuggets have options. And not only do they have options, they still have a couple of other players off the bench and KCP who's starting that not only play defense, but can sit there and spot up 3. And how are the Thunder going to guard all that? Their defense is not terrible, but they're just not going to guard all that. Because Jokic and Jamal Murray need 2 bodies for themselves. So if you're running double teams at Jokic and running double teams at Jamal Murray every time you touch the ball, then how are you going to do it with MPJ and Aaron Gordon and everybody else? I know once you get to the playoffs, you have to pick your poisons. Like, okay, we're going to guard Jokic, but we're going to let MPJ beat us. If he beats us, then, hats off. But I feel like the Nuggets can beat you without, Jokic, without, Jamal Murray. Obviously, they can't do it without both. But if they just have one of them going off that game, they're going to beat you. And then especially that Jamal Murray is pretty much back to his normal health, back to how he used to be. I feel like the Nuggets can pretty much take out any team, and especially this Thunder team. I feel like it's gonna be the easiest playoff series for them. Um, I'm just interested to see what happens after. And then obviously we got to speak about Zion Williamson's comments. You know, this is a guy that has only played 114 games since he's been drafted, number one overall pick. He's missed 194 games since he's been drafted, the I think third most by number one pick in the last decade. So if you are missing 194 games, and I think he's only been in the league for like 2 years now, 3 years. That's terrible. And it's really about conditioning. He went up there. He said, I feel great physically. I'm there. It's just about when do I feel like me. And what the hell does that sentence even mean? Like, what do you mean when you feel like you? How do you feel like yourself? Like, why don't you explain that? Because the way it's looking now is that you're pretty much saying that you need to be 100% for you to play. Which then makes people question your love for the game. There's players that come back and play in important games, like play-in tournaments, like playoffs, people that actually want to win the championship, and they come back at 60%, 70%, 80%. Now, some people might look at that and be like, oh, that's very stupid, that's dumb. And you can make a case for that. But the reality is, if you want a championship, your best player has to be on the court, whether they are 100% or they're just being a decoy. Like, if you are honestly sitting there thinking that anybody on any team is at 100% right now, then you're delusional. You're naive, and I don't understand. Like, there's no talking basketball with you. Nobody's at 100% right now. It's the playoffs. It's the play-in tournament. It's time where everybody's going to get banged up. In every single series, you're going to see players playing with broken noses. You're going to see players playing with fractured hands, fractured fingers. Players going to have shoulders pop out, go back to the locker room, get their shoulder pop back in, and come back to play. It's the playoffs. Things like that are going to happen. The real thing with Zion Williamson, and this is what everybody has been talking about since they came in the league, and this is what he needs to understand too, is you came in the league at 6'8", 270. Okay, and you was already a big body. All right, and at that time, everybody gave him a pass because he was still able to move how he moves, and what we saw in college, like, it was not affecting him. The fact that he was so big and doing all those athletic moves that he does. But once he went above that, like, now he's getting injured a lot more. And I'm not going to estimate how much he weighs now, but he's definitely way bigger than when he first came into the league. And if you love the game so much, then you have to love the conditioning. Because Zion has the athleticism and the ability to be a generational talent. And to be a generational talent is not just about having skills. It's about the grind you're willing to put in. And if you're not willing to put in time, the effort to take care of your body, to watch what you eat, and the discipline that comes with that, you're not going to win. And you're going to have every single season where you're only playing like 30, 40 games, and you're out for a whole other 40, 50 games. And your team and you will never win anything like that, ever. Our next game to talk about, we had the Raptors go up against the Bulls. And honestly, this was one of the games that I genuinely thought would be boring. Like I've stated before, I hate the way the Raptors play. I mean, the way their defense is set up, to me, I feel like it's the most annoying defense to go up against. Because they're really tall and they're like actually big bodies, and they're able to move around and switch and do a little bit of everything. So there's not that they're a bad team or that they're not skillful. It's really their way of offense, their way of scoring, and just so boring to me. And to go up against the Bulls, who I also feel like the way they play is so boring. It was like hard to watch this game. And then you sit there and you really break down the game and you understand, like, this is the Raptors at home, right? So they're in Canada, they're in Toronto, and you expect them to beat the Bulls. You expect them to play defense. You expect them to guard DeMar DeRozan. You expect them to eventually put bodies on Zach LaVine. They're not just going to leave him open all the time. And you expect them to make their free throws. They're at home. They get more calls. At least last night, they got way more calls than the Bulls. You know, I believe they also dominated the rebounds as well. So pretty much the entire first half, it was all Raptors. Like, the entire time, it was like Raptors lead, Raptors lead. And then you get to the second half. Now, mind you, this entire game, the Raptors missed 18 free throws, the second most by any team this season, in a really important game. To miss 18 free throws by an entire team is mind-boggling. That is 18 free points that you left on the court that you couldn't score, you couldn't take. And it's not like you're being guarded at the free throw line. It shows you that this Raptors team did not deliver under pressure, and they really choked. They panicked. Because if you have 18 free throws that you are leaving on the court from any other team, I guarantee you it would be a huge, huge thing. And on top of that, they allowed Zach LaVine to go off with 30 points in the second half. Now, I was just talking about the Pelicans allowing Shea to go off with 17 points in the quarter. To allow one player to go off with 30 points in the second half is insane. Like, okay, in the first half, it's understandable because, you know, usually teams come on in the first half, they're just filling each other out. They understand, oh, they guarding me like that. Oh, they doing this, they're doing that. All right, this is how we're going to attack them in the second half. This is what we're going to do in the second quarter. This is what we're going to do in the third quarter, the fourth quarter, you know, etc. But in the second half, when you're supposed to lock in on defense, they did not do that. They allowed Zach to go off for 30 points. He put up 39, which, by the way, this is the type of night I've been asking for from Zach LaVine. This is the night that we've been all waiting for from Zach. I mean, he got paid in the offseason. Before DeMar came to the team, we all watched him put up 30 points, 40 points, 50 points, and we was all like, damn, he just needs some help. Every single time. And now that he got the help, obviously he was coming off an injury in the beginning of the season, and based off how he looks the last couple of games of the season and last night, you know, he looks like he's pretty much recovered, but he's been struggling this season. At least for the last 2 seasons, he's been struggling. And now he's back. And you saw last night when Zach LaVine is able to go off for 30, 39 points, this team is pretty much unguardable. Because you know that Vucevic is going to go off and give you his 20 points, a couple rebounds, you know, his double-double. You know that Kobe White is going to come off the bench and give you 9, 10 points. At this point, is like you can't even ask him for more than that. It's pretty much the most he's going to give you. You know, and then maybe every now and then he'll give you like a 15-point night, a 20-point night. Like, it is what it is. Patrick Williams came off the bench like 10 points. But from your starters, you expect DeMar to have around 25 to 40. It just really just depends on how he feels that night. And then, for me personally, I would expect Zach LaVine in a win-or-go-home situation to have 30 points in the game. And last night, with 39, he delivered. And from somebody that's been so critical of Zach LaVine, like, I couldn't be much happier. And then, in the fourth quarter, the Bulls pretty much start playing better defense. They send the double teams at a better time, and the Raptors then not only turned it over from the double teams, but they also turned it over from too much dribbling, you know, too much playing around, and they also beat themselves as well. They allowed a lot of possessions to go by without them taking a shot. There's a lot of opportunities that you left that you did not, you know, try to capitalize on now. Even if you just throw up a dumb shot. Me personally, I would rather, and any coach, I'm pretty sure would rather their players to throw up a dumb shot than to turn over the ball. And the Raptors did not give themselves a chance last night. We had Pascal Siakam go off like 30 points. He also had a mean dunk. You had Fred VanVleet have like 26. And then you look at this entire team and you're like, scoring is pretty much even. And then you look at the fourth quarter breakdown, the really just was a huge, not only a letdown for the Canadian fans, but just an entire meltdown from a team, not as bad as the Timberwolves, but it was like second place last night. And just like the fact that they've been playing for so long, is the same exact team since I don't know when, and they still cannot find a way to get out of the early double teams is insane to me. A lot of turnovers, a lot of missed free throws, a lot of opportunities that just, were missed last night. And it was a huge, representative of the way they've been playing this entire season. You look at the Raptors' entire season, you're like, oh, why have they been underwhelming? Why have they been around the 10th seed, 9th seed? What is going on? And this is exactly what's going on. They're not playing like the Raptors we was always watching from before this season. They were playing super soft. And then their coach, I don't know what's going to happen with that. He already said that he might leave. So that might be a thing to look out for as well. Fred VanVleet, what's going to happen with him? There's a lot of things to look at with this team right now. It's looking like they might blow up the entire team. We don't know. But with last night's loss, it's going to be crazy. But anyways, that's enough of me rambling. Chat. It's time for y'all. Let me know what y'all think down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. This is Real Talk with Ian. It's time to leave the locker room. I'm going to catch y'all. Safety.
Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The officials have to review it. And the Lakers win the game. Banks it in. He banks in the three to win it. Good. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection. This is for the win. Got it. Wow. At 7, working against Butler, got down.